What if everything you thought made a woman strong is exactly what makes her weak? In an age obsessed with independence and loud empowerment, no one dares ask the ancient question, what does it truly mean to be wise? Seneca once said, "A fool is not always silent, but a wise woman always listens before she speaks." Today, foolishness hides behind confidence. Recklessness disguises itself as courage, and emotional outbursts are celebrated as authenticity. This isn't about intelligence, this is about inner mastery. Because a woman can be educated yet unwise, loud yet unheard, powerful yet deeply lost. The Stoics didn't define wisdom by degrees or status. They measured it in discipline, judgment, and truth. This video will challenge everything modern culture applauds and reveal the quiet signs that separate the wise from the foolish. These aren't insults, they're mirrors, and if you dare to look into them, you'll see not who society wants you to be, but who you truly are. Stay until the end and you'll unlock 7 ancient truths that could change your mindset, relationships, and power forever. Let's begin. Sign 1. The loud lie, why noise is mistaken for strength. Strength does not scream, it does not seek applause, and it never announces itself when it enters a room. Today, many believe that the louder you are, the stronger you must be. But the truth is, this noise is often a disguise for fear, chaos, and insecurity. The Stoics warned us about this long ago. Epictetus taught that the wise remain calm not because they lack emotion, but because they are in control of it. Loudness is not power. It is often the result of inner disorder. Modern society confuses volume with confidence. We celebrate those who speak first, interrupt most, and dominate every space they enter. But strength is not in the noise. It is in the silence that follows a deep understanding. Imagine a storm. Loud, violent, unpredictable. Then imagine a mountain. Silent, steady, unmoved. Which one truly holds power? The loud woman believes she is being heard. The wise woman knows when to speak and when to remain silent. The foolish woman uses her voice as a weapon. The wise woman uses it as a tool. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that self-control is the highest expression of strength. Not retaliation, not reaction, but restraint. Real strength is the ability to remain centered while the world demands you to lose control. It is walking away when others provoke. It is speaking softly when others shout. It is choosing understanding over dominance. Look around. So many confuse emotional chaos with passion. They speak without thought, argue without purpose, react without wisdom, and they call it power. But power that must always be proven is not power. It is insecurity dressed in noise. A truly powerful woman does not need to declare it. Her presence says what her words do not. Her silence speaks louder than arguments. Her stillness unnerves the loudest room. And here's the paradox. The more noise you make, the less people hear. The more you react, the less you lead. The more you fight to be seen, the more invisible you become to truth. The Stoic woman is not passive. She is precise. She does not suppress emotion. She channels it. She does not avoid conflict. She chooses which battles are worthy. She does not yell for respect. She earns it through character. In a world that teaches you to shout your worth, the wise woman shows hers quietly. So ask yourself this. Do you speak to be heard, or do you speak to bring clarity? Do you react out of impulse or respond from strength? Are you driven by the need to be loud or the desire to be wise? If your strength disappears the moment you go silent, then it was never strength, it was just noise. And here's the truth that most will never tell you. Being loud may win attention, but it will never earn you wisdom, respect, or self-mastery. And now that you have seen through this illusion, prepare yourself for what comes next. Because the second sign of a foolish woman is far more dangerous than loudness. It is the quiet enemy within, one that disguises itself as authenticity but chains your mind and rules your life. Sign 2. Emotional slavery. When feelings rule the mind, you were never meant to be a slave to your emotions. Yet that is exactly what most people have become. Not because they lack strength, but because they were never taught control. Today we are told to feel everything, express everything, and act on everything. But the Stoics warned us of this trap. Seneca said it clearly. No man is free who is not master of himself. And no woman either. Emotions are not the enemy. They are signals. But when signals become commands, you are no longer in control. You are being controlled. A woman ruled by emotion is like a ship without a captain. It may be beautifully built and filled with potential, but when the storms hit, it crashes because there is no hand on the wheel. This is emotional slavery. When anger decides your words, when sadness decides your identity, when fear decides your future, and when love, blind impulsive love, decides your worth. The foolish woman believes that because she feels something deeply, it must be true. The wise woman feels everything but believes only what she has examined. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that his mind must remain stronger than his mood. Because the mood changes, but the mission does not. Think of someone you know who constantly says, "I just felt like it," or "I could not help myself." That is not expression. That is surrender. That is emotional laziness dressed as honesty. In the name of being real, people have become reactionary, and they call it authenticity. But raw emotion without discipline is not authenticity. It is chaos. The wise woman knows the difference between feeling and reacting. She can feel deeply but still choose wisely. She allows emotions to inform her, not to command her. Epictetus taught that it is not events that disturb us but our opinions of them. The same is true with emotions. It is not the feeling that harms us, but how we interpret and act upon it. You can be angry and not destructive. You can be afraid and still act with courage. You can be heartbroken and still hold your dignity. That is the mark of wisdom. Emotional slavery is subtle. It disguises itself as being true to yourself. But if your true self changes every time your emotions shift, then you have not found yourself at all. You are simply following the strongest wave in the moment. The Stoics did not suppress emotion, they transcended it. They believed that reason must govern passion, not because emotion is bad, but because emotion is powerful. And power without direction destroys. The foolish woman makes decisions in the heat of feeling and suffers in the cold aftermath of regret. The wise woman pauses, reflects, asks, what is true here, not just what feels true. She delays reaction to protect her peace. She creates space between the feeling and the response. That space is where freedom lives. In that space you take back control. In that space you stop being a slave. In that space you become wise. So ask yourself this: do your emotions serve you or do you serve them? Do you control your responses or do your responses control your life? If your peace is constantly stolen by others, then you have not yet mastered yourself. If your joy disappears every time life becomes hard, then you are not yet free. Emotional slavery is invisible, but once you see its chains, you can break them. And once you do, you will walk into the next level of power, because what is coming next is even more dangerous than emotion. It is a mindset that destroys strength from the inside while pretending to protect you. Prepare for the third sign. Sign 3. Victimhood addiction. The subtle death of responsibility. There is a poison that spreads quietly through the soul. It feels warm at first, comforting, even empowering. But over time it rots every ounce of strength, discipline, and self-respect. That poison is victimhood. Today many wear their wounds like a badge of honor. They define themselves by what happened to them, not by how they responded. And the world rewards it. The more broken you appear, the more attention you get. The more helpless you act, the more others come running. But the Stoics saw this pattern for what it truly is: the slow death of personal power. Epictetus was born a slave, owned, beaten, silenced, yet he taught that even in chains a person could be free, if they ruled their own mind. He refused to be a victim because he understood one unshakable truth: you cannot control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. Victimhood addiction is seductive because it removes responsibility. It says your failures are not your fault. Your emotional chaos is someone else's burden. Your lack of growth is society's oppression. The foolish woman leans into this mindset. She waits for rescue. She justifies her stagnation. She surrounds herself with people who validate her pain, but never challenge her to rise above it. The wise woman sees through it. She knows pain is real, but she also knows pain is not a passport to righteousness. It is a test, a trial, and sometimes the making of your highest self. Seneca said difficulty strengthens the mind as labor strengthens the body. But today we avoid difficulty. We label it as unfair. We run from responsibility and call it self-care. There is nothing noble about being a permanent victim. True nobility comes from rising after the fall, from owning your scars, not showcasing them but using them to become something more. Victimhood whispers that the world owes you. Wisdom says you owe it to yourself to become stronger. In every hardship you face, there are two paths. One leads to bitterness, blame, and paralysis. The other leads to clarity, resilience, and freedom. The difference is not the event. The difference is who you choose to become in response. The addict of victimhood stays stuck. She relives her pain to gain sympathy. She avoids accountability by pointing fingers. She confuses attention with healing. But here is the truth. Being a victim and being powerless are not the same thing. You can be hurt and still rise. You can be wronged and still choose character. You can fall and still stand with integrity. The Stoics believed in radical ownership, not because they denied suffering, but because they knew only responsibility leads to transformation. Responsibility is not blame. It is power. It is the moment you stop waiting for life to fix itself and you start shaping it with your own hands. The wise woman knows that no one is coming to save her, and that is exactly why she saves herself. She chooses the harder path, the one that asks for discipline over excuses, action over complaints, growth over comfort. So ask yourself, are you replaying your story to rise or to remain the same? Are you using your pain as fuel or as a crutch? Are you living by your principles or by your wounds? Because victimhood may feel good in the moment, but it costs you everything in the long run. And once you break free from it, you will see clearly the next trap that keeps women weak. A lie disguised as independence. A false freedom that chains you without you ever noticing. Prepare for the fourth sign. Sign 4. The illusion of independence. Strength without wisdom. Independence is worshipped today. It is sold as the highest form of strength, the final badge of freedom. But what if that independence is only an illusion? What if what you call freedom is just isolation in disguise? The modern world praises the woman who says she needs no one, wants no help, answers to nothing. She builds walls, calls them boundaries. She rejects connection and calls it power. But the Stoics knew that isolation is not strength. It is often fear hiding behind pride. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire yet wrote constantly about humility, connection, and service. He never confused autonomy with arrogance. He knew that true strength is not in being alone, but in being whole. The foolish woman believes that independence means rejecting everyone and everything. She sees dependence as weakness. She refuses guidance, resists vulnerability, and avoids any emotional interdependence. But this is not freedom. This is fear of trust, fear of being seen, fear of surrendering control. The wise woman is self-reliant but never self-absorbed. She knows when to carry herself and when to let others walk beside her. She does not confuse needing help with being helpless. Independence without wisdom becomes pride. Pride becomes blindness. And blindness leads to destruction. Imagine a fortress built so strong that nothing can get in. Not even light. Not even love. That is what this illusion creates. A woman so guarded that she no longer receives truth, care, or correction. Seneca warned us that we must learn from each other because no one is wise alone. But today women are told to cut off everyone who challenges them, to walk away from anyone who holds up a mirror, to replace counsel with ego, and they call it empowerment. But real empowerment is not found in isolation. It is found in discernment, knowing who to listen to and who to ignore, knowing how to build inner strength without closing the door to outer wisdom. The illusion of independence tells you that you are safest when you are unreachable. But the truth is you are strongest when you are teachable. A woman who cannot receive instruction cannot grow. A woman who cannot lean on others cannot lead others. A woman who always walks alone will eventually lose her direction. The Stoic path does not ask you to depend on everyone. It asks you to depend on virtue. And virtue is often refined through others, through conflict, compassion, accountability, and love. The wise woman understands the paradox. She is both grounded and open, solid and soft, fierce and teachable. She holds her own but does not hold back from meaningful connection. She knows that real strength is not about cutting ties. It is about knowing which ones to keep and which ones to release. So ask yourself, has your independence made you powerful or has it made you proud? Does your freedom bring you peace or loneliness? Do you carry your own weight? Or are you too afraid to let anyone see you struggle? Because when independence becomes your identity, you risk becoming hardened, not empowered. And the greatest irony is this: the more you prove you need no one, the more you become a prisoner of your own walls. But once that illusion is shattered, you can begin to build real power from within and with others. Now prepare for what comes next, because the fifth sign is even more seductive. It is a dangerous trade-off between what fades and what lasts. A choice many make without even realizing it. Sign 5, when beauty replaces virtue, a dangerous trade-off. She is admired by many but respected by few. She turns heads in every room yet commands no true loyalty. She knows how to attract but not how to lead. This is the tragedy of a woman who has traded virtue for beauty. In today's world, beauty is currency, and many women spend their lives chasing it as if it is the source of all value. They sculpt their faces but not their character. They dress to impress but fail to dress their minds with wisdom. The Stoics saw this trap thousands of years ago. Epictetus warned that what is truly beautiful is not the body but the soul shaped by virtue. Because beauty fades, virtue does not. The foolish woman believes her appearance is enough, that if she is desired, she is worthy, that if she is praised, she is powerful. But this is an illusion. Beauty may open doors, but only virtue can keep them open. There is nothing wrong with being beautiful, but there is everything wrong with depending on it. Because beauty is fragile. Time strips it. Attention distorts it. And if it is all you have, you will always fear its loss. Look at history. Helen of Troy's beauty sparked a war, but what legacy did it leave? A trail of destruction. The Stoic woman would ask, what good is beauty if it creates chaos? What good is charm if it lacks character? Seneca taught that no adornment is greater than inner virtue. And yet modern society tells women that worth is skin deep. It places youth above wisdom, allure above honor, sex appeal above substance. The woman who lives by this standard becomes a product, not a person. She begins to perform instead of becoming. She edits herself constantly, seeking approval, afraid of silence, and terrified of aging. But the wise woman sees differently. She values beauty but honors virtue. She cultivates elegance not just in how she looks, but in how she thinks, how she speaks, and how she acts when no one is watching. She is not swayed by compliments. She is not broken by rejection, because her worth is rooted in something time cannot touch, her principles. Real power is not in how many want you. It is in how well you govern yourself when no one is watching. The woman who chooses virtue over vanity invests in something eternal. Her presence is magnetic not because of how she looks, but because of how she makes others feel. She radiates calm, not chaos, strength, not seduction, wisdom, not need. The paradox is this: the more a woman depends on beauty, the less powerful she becomes, because she is always trying to maintain something that is by nature temporary. But the woman who builds her character becomes timeless. She may not always be praised, but she will always be respected. So ask yourself, are you building your identity on what fades or on what endures? Are you spending more time on your mirror or your mind? Do people admire you, or do they follow you? Because beauty might gain attention, but only virtue gains influence. And when you understand this, you break free from a trap that has captured generations of women. Prepare for what comes next. Because the sixth sign reveals the quiet addiction that steals your time, your energy, and your ability to live with purpose. And most never even realize it until it's too late. Sign 6, reactivity over reason, the fool's playground. Every day offers a battlefield of choices. How you respond when criticized, how you act when provoked, how you speak when emotions rise. In this quiet war, there are only two paths: react or reason. One is the mark of the foolish. The other is the mark of the wise. A foolish woman lives in reaction. She is easily triggered, constantly pulled by impulse, and enslaved by the chaos of her environment. If someone disrespects her, she lashes back. If life frustrates her, she explodes. If she feels threatened, she attacks. She does not respond, she reacts. And that is the difference between power and powerlessness. The Stoics warned us, anger is temporary madness. Marcus Aurelius taught that if someone can make you angry, they have conquered you. Not with strength, but with your own weakness. The modern world teaches women to be fiery, outspoken, and unfiltered. Speak your mind, they say. Don't let anyone cross you. But Stoicism asks, Is that strength or insecurity in disguise? A strong woman does not react. She pauses, she observes, she asks, is this worthy of my energy? Is this a battle worth fighting? Is this even about me? Because here's the truth. Most of what upsets you isn't even about you. It's about the other person's ignorance, their pain, their ego. But when you react instantly, you make their problem your prison. Reactivity is a loss of control disguised as empowerment. The reactive woman is not fearless, she is volatile. And volatility is not power, it is danger. Imagine a candle in the wind. It flares up at every gust but is eventually extinguished. Now imagine a steady flame guarded by glass, calm, unwavering, untouched by storms. That is the power of reason. Seneca taught that no one can harm you without your consent. And how do you give that consent? By reacting, by letting others dictate your state of mind. The wise woman is not cold. She is composed. She feels everything but chooses carefully how to respond. She is not provoked into foolishness. She does not trade her peace for petty arguments. Reactivity is emotional immaturity. It says, I must respond now. I must win. I must be heard. But reason says, let me wait. Let me think. Let me rise above. Think of a courtroom. The most powerful person is not the one yelling. It is the one who speaks last after everyone else has revealed their truth. That's the Stoic way. The woman who leads with reason is trusted, respected, and often feared. Not because she is aggressive, but because she cannot be manipulated. She cannot be baited. She is anchored. In a world that thrives on reaction, social media, drama, cancel culture, outrage, addiction, choosing reason is rebellion. Choosing calm is strength. Choosing self-governance is freedom. Ask yourself, and how often are you triggered? How easily do others steal your attention, your mood, your clarity? If you are always in reaction mode, you are never truly in control. Reactivity feels powerful in the moment but always leads to regret. Reason feels slow but always leads to strength. So choose your weapon wisely. One builds a life of chaos. The other builds a legacy of wisdom. And now prepare for the final sign, the deadliest of all, because it masquerades as confidence but feeds your deepest insecurity. It's the lie that tells you you're already enough, when in truth you've never been further from your true potential. Sign 7, the final mirror, how the wise woman leads herself. At the end of every illusion, every excuse, and every false belief, there is only one truth left standing. One mirror you cannot avoid. It is not society. It is not men. It is not your past. It is you. The final sign of a foolish woman is this. She refuses to lead herself. She waits for guidance but ignores wisdom. She craves change but resists discipline. She demands respect but has never earned it from herself. The Stoics taught that the highest form of leadership is self-mastery, not control over others. Control over your own mind, your emotions, your habits, and your principles. Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. And that truth echoes just as loudly for women. Because if you cannot lead yourself, you will always be led by something weaker. Impulse, fear, ego, or noise. The foolish woman blames the world for her stagnation. She says, I would be better if I had support, if I had time, if others understood me. But the wise woman never waits for perfect conditions. She creates them within. She wakes herself up. She trains her thoughts. She keeps promises no one sees. She sets standards and lives by them whether or not anyone is watching. This is not glamorous work. It is silent, repetitive, often lonely. But it is the only work that builds real strength, because external power without internal order is a ticking bomb. The wise woman carries herself like a queen not because the world crowns her, but because she has ruled her own inner kingdom. She does not need applause to act right. She does not need threats to stay disciplined. Her loyalty is to her values, not to her moods. Self-leadership means being brutally honest with yourself. It means asking, am I becoming who I say I want to be? Or am I just performing that image for others? It means confronting your own laziness, your emotional chaos, your hidden insecurities, and choosing to rise anyway. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The wise woman knows this. So she watches her mind like a garden. She pulls out weeds. She waters the roots. She does not wait for someone to do it for her. The world cannot give you what you refuse to give yourself. Not love if you do not honor yourself. Not success if you do not lead yourself. Not peace if you are at war within. So ask yourself, who do you become when no one is watching? What standards do you hold when no one is enforcing them? Are you building a life based on truth? Or are you just reacting to noise? This is the final mirror. The one that reveals everything. The one you cannot lie to. And if you dare to look into it without flinching, you will see the path forward. The path of the wise woman. The one who is not perfect but principled. Not loud but deeply anchored. Not seeking power, but becoming it. Because in the end, leadership is not about commanding others. It is about commanding yourself. And once you master that, nothing and no one can ever lead you astray again. At the end of it all, it's not how the world sees you that defines your wisdom. It's how you choose to see yourself. A foolish woman chases attention, reacts to everything, and confuses appearance for virtue. A wise woman leads herself from within. She cultivates discipline, silence, humility, and reason, not for praise, but for peace. Because true strength is invisible. It's not in noise, not in defiance, not in beauty, it's in the quiet mastery of your soul. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good person should be one. So here is your mirror. Every sign revealed in this video points not to others, but to the parts of ourselves we are called to refine. Now it's your turn. Lead yourself. Begin where you are. Choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Build the kind of inner fortress that no storm can shake. If this video stirred something in you, don't let that feeling fade. Like the video, subscribe for more Stoic wisdom, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below, which of these signs hit you the hardest and what are you ready to do about it?